I just completed the entire season 3 of Love is Blind, and all I can say is the show just needs to end because every couple that enters the show, they just seem like they're unprepared for marriage. They have so many issues that they need to heal or get over. And I realized that ever since season 1, which seemed like it was the most genuine and most successful season, ever since that season, it seemed as though the couples, whenever they see the other person, they're immediately like over the marriage or they're over the relationship slash engagement. You know, we had Ayana and Jared in season 2. They weren't that amazing. It was just so many issues and so many like things that each couple, and not even just each couple, but each individual had to heal from. And I think the show just didn't do a thorough background check to get people that genuinely wanted to get married and really connect on a deeper level than the physical. Not saying that physical is not as important, but just that they needed people that are more serious, unless they're just trying to make great TV. Now, with that being said, I do want to get into our couples in the season 3, and in this particular episode, I will just be focusing on SK and Raven, only because I feel like each couple just deserves their own little segment because there's so much to unpack. So with Raven, SK and Raven, they didn't really connect until a little bit later on, like maybe episode 2. My apologies. And my initial perspective of Raven was that she just seemed like a typical influencer or IG girl. They're very much so into themselves. You know, she made her entire identity surround her being a Pilates instructor. And one thing I found weird is that when she was speaking to, I believe it was SK, and she was trying to reveal her career or her job of being a bartender, I feel like there was more to it. Like maybe she's possibly a sugar baby or something of some sort, which is not a necessarily bad thing, but I feel like the way she built up to tell him that she was a bartender just didn't seem all the way genuine or all the way honest, in my opinion. However, I just feel like she wasn't taking the experiment as serious as anyone else. It felt like it was all a way for her to gather clout or maybe increase her clientele towards her being a Pilates instructor and getting people to, you know, focus more on Pilates and get into it. Because a lot of even on your honeymoon, when they try to do like things that she like, it was always surrounded with Pilates. She always brought up Pilates and really just always worked on her body, especially in the scene where Bartiz was becoming emotional with her. He was explaining a bit of his childhood and she was just there working out. You know what I'm saying? It could be from a level of disinterest, but it just seemed like her main focus at the time was to really just increase her following it towards people coming to her and really just investing in her Pilates career. So with her and SK, I realized that initially she seemed like she wasn't interested, but then she began to open up more and more to him. And I think it was the fact that SK just seemed genuine and he allowed for her to be herself and he really listened carefully to who she was. So over time, it just seemed like she wasn't attracted to him. Maybe he just wasn't her type initially. Like maybe she's used to, you know, taller. Not saying that SK is not tall, because SK has quite a bit of height on her, but maybe it's just not what she typically went for. And again, you have the initial thing of like they're from two different cultures, and she would have had to really compromise into that. But we're gonna get into that a little bit further. Anyways, so she began to connect with SK on a deeper level. I think he really allowed for her to really open up and become emotional in a way that she's never had before. And that was really good. So they went on. She said no to Barty said no to her. And she went with SK to be engaged to him. So they're engaged. They get to the honeymoon, yada, yada, yada. And they're just not really connected as much. Honestly, I really didn't think they were going to be a success for the mere fact that they just didn't seem to connect. They just felt like, it always felt like there was just two strangers meeting for the first time when they were interacting with each other and around each other. But what I really liked about Raven, and she really changed my perspective of her, is the fact that she was willing to work with him. Like she was always open to his culture. She was always open to learning about things connected with his family and really just having conversations with him and his mother to really see how she could integrate into their family, into their culture in a respectful manner. And I think she did a really great job of that. She was always willing to compromise. And I feel like SK, he didn't really always view what she was doing, or he didn't always appreciate her efforts. He might just saw it as like it was just regular or something for her to do, but she really did do a lot, which I admired about her. Now, they did go through the entire process, and SK didn't really bring up too many issues except for the mere fact that he, 2 months after the marriage, he would need to go to school for 2 years on a full scholarship, and she wanted help she wanted him to pay half her rent. That part I feel like was a somewhat strange issue, because if he's going to school for 2 years, yes, he's on a scholarship, but why are you not really commanding, but you're suggesting that he pays half your rent for your place when he's not going to be staying there? I mean, he's going to come to visit here and there, but he won't be staying at your place. So the somehow suggestion of him to pay half your rent when he's not there and he's going through school, it just seemed a bit selfish on her part. But I know that may be something that she's used to. She says she's used to ex giving her like lavish gifts or nice gifts, and etc. So if that's something that she's used to, then it's going to be something that she suggests from him, because she's going to be possibly giving up that particular type of lifestyle when she gets with him or when she's married to him. So they kind of sort of went through the entire process, and they were very, one thing I do want to point out, I'm sort of skipping all over the place, I apologize. But one thing I wanted to point out is the fact that when she met Bartise at the pool party on the honeymoon, I believe, and Bartise was coming at her and he was telling her, like, they are two people that look like they would fit together. I really like that she shut him down respectfully. She realized that she wanted something deeper and more substantial, rather than just, oh yeah, we look good together. And I really like the way that she shut him down and she still stood by SK. That was a very much power move for her, which I like. And I admired in her. So I think in this moment she was beginning to open up to SK and really like become connected to him, and I think that's when their relationship began to get a little bit better. So moving forward, they went through the entire process. They didn't really have that much issues apart from that. The friend thing, when he met the friend, it did seem rocky. It seemed like, honestly, they just weren't meant for each other, and the friends were very disrespectful and very ignorant to a lot of things about Nigerians, and just they weren't really respectful or trying to get to know him as an individual, I realized. And a red flag that they pointed out is that Raven's never really been in a serious relationship, and at her big age, she's still very young, but she's still grown enough to how it's a big concern that she's never been in a relationship before or never taken a relationship serious. And these friends are friends that are supposed to know her since they were like kids. But nonetheless, she sticks by SK and they continue on through the process. And on wedding day, leading up, she just seems like she's very much so in love. She's very much so ready. Although, she tried her best to integrate the cultures, and, she was willing. And I think that's the thing. Like on the wedding day, we were able to see a more tender side of her, a side of her that was really willing to be married and willing to be in love. And I think that's when I really saw that softer side of her that we haven't really caught wind of throughout the entire season leading up to this point. So they get up to the altar and they're doing their thing, and SK says, "I do not." And immediately you can see her heart sinks, and she just feels like, I wouldn't say betrayed, but you can see that there's a level of hurt and pain from him saying "I do not." And I think it's because their entire relationship, they were just able to really speak and work through things. My apologies, tongue tire. But the entire relationship leading up to the wedding, they were just able to speak through things, and they, she was willing to compromise, and she put in a lot of effort into him. So, and he didn't really bring up any issues that could have, messed up him not saying yes on wedding day, but he did say no. And she walked away, obviously in pain, cried a whole lot, yada, yada, yada. And I think, for at the moment, it was the correct decision to be made. I think they really needed to date more, get to know each other more, really connect with each other on a deeper level, and really just see if they are really good to and for each other, and if their lifestyles can mix. Because at that time, it just seemed like it would have been too rushed. And SK and Raven don't need nothing that's rushed. They need something that's taken slow, taken lightly, and handled with care. And I think ultimately it was the best decision for them to not marry at the time. even though everyone wanted it to. You can see the mother was literally melting. I do, I do, I do. And everyone in his family was shocked that he said, I do not. But if you haven't watched the reunion yet or watch all the way through, then click off at this point. But we get to the reunion and, you know, we eventually find out that SK and Raven are still dating. They are together and they seem even more in love. Like, she seems very tender and loving towards him. It seems like she literally melts in his arms. And I think a lot of the thing too is she didn't think SK would be such a high quality man. And when I say high quality, I mean he carries himself well. He's very intelligent, he's understanding, and he's willing, and he's opened to her, and he's very deep. He's willing to make connections. Although a lot of people were blindsided by him saying I do not, I think there's something about him that's genuine, and he carries himself well. Like, even the quality of his clothes looks amazing. So I think it's good that they're dating, and I love that they're dating each other outside of it without rushing a marriage. But they do fit well together, and I think he really brings out all this soft and feminine and great qualities out of her, and I think that's the best thing for it. And she seems very supportive of him. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this entire season or this specific couple, and comment down below any more couples that you would like me to speak on. Bye. Have a good day.